Yeah, I didn't save that one, so I guess play that one.
That's it?
No, I got the other one saved.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I sent you. I didn't.
Okay.
Dave putting in his tobacco.
It's not tobacco.
Whatever. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to
I feel like
another.
I need an ottoman or something, man. Like, fucking
What?
kick back here. Like,
I got one right here.
oh, that's cool. Otto, man.
I got ottomans.
Need some elbow room on the board here.
Oh, we can reposition you at some point.
That's cool.
All right.
Well, relax.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Men Podcast. Dave and Clint here with you.
Wish I had a beer.
Sunday evening. Wish in one hand, shit in the other. See which one fills up first. I got your beers in the fridge, man. You want one?
Nah, I'm good.
But you got to drive home, so you don't.
Driving.
Coming at you live from the bunker in Bethlehem.
No Sunday. Is that what this means?
Yeah. Bethlehem, the Bethlehem bunker.
Why is it called Bethlehem, Dave?
That's where Jesus was born,
Goes back to biblical times.
I guess. Nazareth is right up the street. That's where Jesus lived after he was born in Bethlehem.
Right.
So.
Scranton. Is that biblical?
Scranton.
That's where Joe is.
That's where the devil arose.
That's where Joe was.
The rise of the demons. That's where Joe's from. Scranton Joe.
Listen, everybody. Like, follow, and share on all your podcast platforms. Share with your friends, even people you don't like. Try to boost us up.
Well, they wouldn't be friends, would they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even people they don't like, though. Share it anyway. Piss them off. Let's make the end of April here the piss a lib off.
Piss a lib.
Piss a lib off.
Piss a lib off. I got a really cool shirt.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It says, I forget what it says.
Can't get comfortable here.
Didn't come
It's
yet.
a little ass round
Anyway,
table.
when I get it, I'll wear it. I'll show it to you. It's pretty cool. Real quick, I just want to show you how great Bidenomics is working. For those of you who don't know.
Who are unaware of such a situation.
Yeah. Is this really building back better? $1,000 Dollar Tree stores closing. 900 Walgreens stores closing. 150 Macy's. 400 Foot Lockers. Where am I going to get my Nikes and my Adidas?
China.
350 Gap stores. 400 Burger Kings.
Oh.
Damn, that's painful, bro. 429 Regal Cinemas. I didn't even know there was that many.
Well, there isn't.
And Kroger, 413 stores closing up.
I think they're like Midwest, South Kroger's.
Yeah, wow. That's a shame.
So we're told repeatedly by Karine Jean-Pierre and obviously Biden and everybody else on the Democratic side that the economy's doing great. The jobs report, now just roughly off of that estimate, how many jobs do you think were lost just with that little bit of shutdowns?
I don't know. I don't have my calculator with me.
Thousands?
Yeah, I would say.
So thousands of jobs lost. How much money to the economy of the little town or wherever those stores are at? How much tax revenue lost? Like, do you see how it's not just the store closing? It's the whole.
It's the community. Affects the whole community.
Yeah, it's a whole situation of jobs, economy. You know what I mean? The taxes. So that's going to boost the tax burden for other,
Well, the one thing that they neglect to tell you in the jobs report is that, what's the biggest sector of increased jobs, right? It's government.
It was the government.
It's government. Well, at some point, the money gets their government from, the government gets their money from
the people,
the private sector.
Yeah.
If everybody's working for the government, where's the government going to get their money?
I think that's what they want.
Well, the big scam is that the government doesn't need your taxes. They can just print money.
Right.
They just do it. They just put this whole thing in place to hold your ass down.
Well, it's, like.
Make you think you're paying for shit, but you ain't.
Like the 15th, everybody's like, oh, it's tax day. Pay your. Dude, they already took your taxes.
Yeah.
You're not paying. They already took it. They already got your money. You're just either going to pay more or they're going to be like, here's a couple hundred back because you pay too much.
That we're going to give back to you interest free.
Yeah.
If I held on to the government's money,
Oh, yeah.
think of the interest I'd have to pay.
Right.
But they can hold it all year for me. They don't have to pay me a dime.
Yeah, and they, again, like we said, like, oh, tax the rich, this, that, because, it's another indoctrination scheme and phrase because people are fucking stupid. You don't realize the rich people, like the Bezoses, the Elon Musks, the guy who owns the Kroger stores who had to shut them down, those are all jobs that he's built within communities that now aren't there. So if you continuously tax the rich and they can't pay their share anymore, so to speak, and they, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to make a little less, so I'm going to shut down 429 stores. How about that? Oh, well.
Well, that's what this new minimum wage law is going to do in California, too. I mean, people are already shutting down.
Yeah, I saw that. As soon as it started, they were like, yeah, I don't even get it, man. Like, and I know we talked about it before with the $15 minimum wage. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there in certain parts of the country where, maybe you're making $8 an hour, but your cost of living is fucking, I don't know, cheap.
Well, those are entry-level positions.
Correct.
They're supposed to build character, hone your skills, and move up the ladder.
Right.
I mean, that's the way, that's America.
Right. You're not supposed to be the fucking, unless you're retired, the 50-year-old cashier at the Kroger that's recently closed down because you decided to stay there for fucking 40 years and just be a bagging clerk.
Whose fault's that?
Well, no, that's the point. Like, it's not our fault that you have
no ambition,
climbed up the ladder to be, I'm going to be the meat manager or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm going to be the produce guy. Instead, you just want to be fucking out there in the lot rounding up the silver buffalo.
You got to hone your skills, man. And I push carts. I bag groceries. I flip burgers. I did all that shit.
Right.
I cleaned bathrooms.
Well, I think, too, like...
Nothing was, below me.
I think, too, like...
Below me.
I know what you said. Okay. Nothing was... I think, too, like, because of, these younger... I mean, all my kids work, and they're all, my younger daughters work hard, too. So I think it's all kind of what you were saying about the last episode we just did was, like, it's a sense of entitlement, and it's the parents are at fault for not putting these kids, like, yo, listen... It's tough out here.
How do your kids feel about the taxes?
They fucking hate it, dude. They hate it.
That's what turns a liberal into a conservative real quick.
I mean, my 16-year-old, she's 17 now, but she was like, F Joe Biden because she went to go get her nails done for prom last weekend, and it was normally 40, now it's 60. She's like, how does inflation affect?
Inflation's low.
The nails, but even like the taxes, they get it.
That's the nail company gouging her.
Well, I'm sure they'd be like, oh well, we have to get the acrylic nails from China. It costs extra. I don't even know. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, their costs are up, so they got to spread it to the customer, which is what happens.
Right. Yeah, I know we were talking about it earlier with the greedflation with the Bob Casey from Pennsylvania. His commercial, like, oh, it's the companies that are gouging. Come on, man. I said, what's the price of gas? Just off the top of your head.
It's like $3.70 something.
Yeah. It went from like $3.01 at the beginning of April. It's up because I got it at Wawa. We drive, where I work. Drive by to Wawa every fucking day. I'm like, oh, $3.01. Let me get it on Friday.
Right.
Before I leave. Before I leave, I get it on Friday night. I usually last until like Tuesday, Wednesday the next week. I got on Friday. I came home, coming back on Monday. I'm like, $3.29. Jesus.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe Biden. That's called Bidenomics.
And now it's $3.70. That was a couple of weeks, like I said, the beginning of April. So, but now it's $3.79. The strategic oil reserves are fucking depleted. Nobody talked about that. That was glossed over about how he can't buy the oil back at the $85 a barrel because OPEC's like, nah, 105. Oh, it's 80. Nah, no, we're not going to. No, here's what we're going to sell it to you for. All right, I guess we're not going to fill it. Cool.
Hopefully we don't need it. So I got to tell you, I was a huge,
Yes, very big.
huge Howard Stern fan
Right.
back in the day when he was on the radio. And, you know, I admired the guy because he was anti-establishment.
Yeah,
Anti-government. He was against the
FCC and all that other stuff.
the FCC.
He was all about it. Government overreach and don't tell me.
Yeah, freedom of speech. And then he went to satellite, and I didn't follow him because I wasn't going to pay for it.
Right.
So, but he went full-blown libtard. I mean, I noticed it during the pandemic when he went full-blown libtard.
Right. He definitely, I don't know. I haven't listened to him for a long time. Like I see clips and hear clips, but when he started doing his 3-day work weeks and that whole situation, I was just, and it started getting, listen, I get it. You got to move on with the sign at a time sometimes, but it wasn't even like, he wasn't like regular radio, which the longer he was on satellite, it almost started turning into like the regular radio morning show guys. Like, and I hated that because it's so cheesy. Like it's fucking, the phone call, like the shit he was doing on the radio was edgy. And then when he got the satellite where you free to really do whatever you wanted,
it was no longer edgy.
He kind of lost it because it was like, I made like millions of dollars. He built the satellite company. He built, Sirius what it is now. But I also, I just lost interest in it.
Well, I have Sirius satellite radio now. I don't listen to him, but he came across my feed, Howard Stern's interviewing Joe Biden. I said, "Whoa!"
A surprise interview. Yeah. Sure. On a Friday, just to pop in surprise video.
So I had to at least
or Thursday, whatever day.
I had to listen for. I only lasted 5 minutes.
Right.
But the first 5 minutes, he was licking Joe Biden's balls like this guy was Jesus.
Right.
Telling him how much he loved him and adored him, and I was nauseous. So I'm getting ready to shut it off because I'm not going to listen to that nonsense. And he says, before we get any further, I want to just say you did one of the greatest things that any president has ever done. And then I took my thumb off the button.
I heard the whole list of a bunch of stuff that Joe said he did, but I didn't hear this.
Yeah, the greatest thing a president has ever done. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a good one because I have no idea.
Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, right. Maybe I missed whatever Joe Biden did that was greater than any president. So he goes into airline refunds.
Oh.
I started laughing.
You don't say. That was the joke.
And junk fees.
Yeah.
I go, now he's funny.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Are you kidding me? This fucking country's falling apart, and you're talking about airline refunds and junk fees?
Right.
What the fuck? How does he look himself in the mirror?
Like, and not only that,
he's just a paid fucking shill.
Like he's worried.
Piece of shit.
He probably flies private anyway. He probably has. I mean, from the beginning of time, he's fucking had a driver. So it's not like he's. You know what I mean? What was it, Ronnie, the limo driver?
Ronnie, the limo
you know what
driver.
I mean? Like he's always had a guy driving him. So it's not like he needs any like. You're not worried. It's the same thing with all these fucking elitist assholes that are trying to tell you, us, the small people out here trying to scrape by, who have millions of dollars. They play pretend or they play an act or they have a role on TV, radio, whatever it may be, how we're supposed to live. Like,
right.
I don't have your money, so, okay, yeah, maybe some fees will be great, but I'm not flying anywhere anyway.
Well, I mean, I honestly never had a flight canceled on me, but my wife has, and they gave her another flight.
Yeah,
it's like what? So
what's the problem?
Where's the problem then?
Well, it's like the ticket.
The border's fucking wide open.
Right.
Crime is rampant.
Right.
People can't afford groceries or gas.
Right.
And we're talking about fucking airline refunds.
Right.
The fuck is wrong with these people?
For who? Like, you know what I mean? Like who?
Jesus.
Well, that's what's
Christ.
wrong with. That's what's wrong with those people. And not only that, you have to think. Going back to like what we were talking about, like Joe's been there in Congress. I'm sure there was some kind of fight where Joe was probably against Stern and all the shit he was saying at some point in the 80s or early 90s when Stern was huge on all across this country, syndicated radio. Like he's the one that kind of, he didn't start it, but I mean, dude, he was, I know like you had the fucking Casey Kasems and all those guys, but I mean, he was a big proponent of morning radio, across the country, not just your syndicated Sunday top 20 or whatever it was, like
right.
that, those guys did. Like, he was syndicated morning radio, and he was probably one of the first, pioneers of being that kind of, these talk show hosts that are everywhere now in every market. Just about, you have a group, or you might have somebody that is in a couple of states or a couple of cities that are syndicated. So I'm sure at some point Joe and fucking Mothers Against, the Al Gore's wife tip or whatever, she was going with Clinton after, you know what I mean? The rappers and all that other stuff. I'm sure Joe was somewhere in there signing bills about, we got to get this guy off of the air.
Shut these people up.
He's talking too much. We can't have our kids listening to this stuff. I'm sure Hunter was snorting cocaine listening to Stern all morning long.
Off hookers' bellies.
Wow, maybe high schoolers when he was first listening.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only, what's he, 55 now? 54?
I don't know.
That's my son.
I love my son, the smartest man I know.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah, so I guess we got some clips from it because it is pretty humorous. Because listen, you don't have to be a diehard fucking Trump guy to go, what are these two guys even talking about? Like you just said, the state of the country shows otherwise. Like, all you have to do is walk outside, unless you're just
Howard Stern doesn't come out of that penthouse suite.
I know, unless it's like Beth telling him we got a fucking dog show or something, like, adopt a dog thing this weekend out on the North Shore in his Hamptons house or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have these people, they don't worry about money. He hasn't worried about money for probably decades. He doesn't care.
All right, let me just play this clip real quick.
All right.
Look at the life you chose. You have to get up and make speeches. You have to debate people. You have, you become a lawyer and you have to go argue in court on behalf of people. I mean, what could be more important than having a confident, fluent speech?
But by that time, I was over most of the stuttering. But like, for example, Trump makes fun of me.
Right.
He was the kind of guy in the neighborhood who wish he could have gotten in the neighborhood, meet head to head.
So now he's threatening Donald Trump.
Well, if they were younger, he would have got him in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I would have beat his ass. Is that what he's saying?
I guess that's what he's saying. Him and Corn Pop would have fucking beat Trump down.
Yeah, but what? The stutter. When did Joe Biden stutter?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
like I said before,
who even cares?
The guy's been in Congress since the 70s. He stutters now because he's a fucking old man who can't get his thoughts straight. You gotta make important speeches. Shut the fuck up. And he's on he's not in the studio because you would have seen the video of it. So it's clearly he's on the phone. So how do we even know it's really Joe talking?
Well, it's definitely a studio recording. So Joe's probably in a studio somewhere.
Well, no, yeah, I understand. I don't mean phone.
I
don't mean like he's actually like calling it. Like, hey, look, Joe Biden just called in. No, I mean like it's more like it's not like he was actually in Stern's studio doing it.
Right.
Because we would have seen the videos of it by now if he was physically there.
All right, what do you got?
All right, so I'll just read like a brief little clip, and then we'll go from
You're going to lose, but
what it is
Well,
here.
look.
All right, so and this is all coming from Biden's headquarters on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So he's just saying, Trump promised that if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath. And then he goes into the Paris thing about the Normandy, which we talked about 2 years ago, but we can talk about that after the clip. It's about a minute, so if you want me to pause at any point, just say pause it up.
Pause it up. Okay.
Yeah.
He's promised if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath.
Can you
things
imagine?
like that. Here's what bothers me most. We have a fundamentally different value set. For example, when he was in Paris, he wouldn't go to that gravesite and said they're losers, these men and women who were killed in battle defending America. Losers and I'm glad I wasn't there. Because
Stop
I
for a
think I
second.
would've- My son.
First of all, Trump didn't mean bloodbath that he's going to unleash MAGA with our rifles and guns and we're going to go start shooting people up. That's it's a metaphor for economic collapse. Right. So that's what that was. And when he called, he was talking about John McCain, wasn't he?
Well, he goes into that part, but no, they're conflating. They're putting two separate speeches together. What happened was what he's referring to is the Normandy thing. Because the Secret Service, because they couldn't fly the helicopter into Normandy because of the weather for that day. You couldn't take it on another day because strategically that's planned for that day. So when they said it's a no-go, he said he even talked about all this. He wanted to go. They said it's a no-go. We can't fly. We can't fly the helicopters in there. They were, and then from where they were to take the car was like 4 or 5 hour drive.
Right.
So they're like, we're not going to drive there because it's going to throw off the whole fucking itinerary of why you're here. So it wasn't the fact of, and he didn't call them losers and suckers. I don't even know where they even came up with this stuff.
Well, I think they stole that from.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like another speech where he was talking about it, and I know because he does go into the John McCain thing at towards the end here.
Right.
But it's the, and even like you have Michael Rappaport, and I don't like the guy, but he's even coming around like, yo, they lied about the Charlottesville thing. That's not what he said. I had to see the whole video together, and when he watched, like for him to come out and go, and again, I don't like that guy.
Yeah, super libtard. I don't know how
but he's like, for him to go, I saw the whole video, and what I was told that he said was a lie.
Right.
It's not what he said, but they clip it to where that's what he said.
Well, I know, and that's I saw another thing with Bill Maher. He was interviewing, I forget who she was, but she was like, he was like, you were raped or sexually assaulted, and why would you support a guy who's convicted of rape?
Right.
And she's like, well, he never got convicted of rape.
Right.
The money he paid was
it was a civil suit.
A civil suit for
libel.
For libel.
Because he said he'd never, because
Right.
he defamed her character.
Right. So, but Bill Maher didn't know that.
No, he knows it. He's
Well,
just,
you think he's that stupid?
yeah, I just think he's,
I just think they don't know. I think they listen to CNN, they get their information, and they run with it.
this guy is a news show Fridays.
He's supposed to be, but I don't think they.
How does he not? I mean, he called it this. Listen, this week he called. I sent it to you, or whatever. I posted on YouTube where we'll go back to that, but that's for the protesters, where he's like, people blocking the streets. People have places to go. We'll get into that later.
All right, go ahead, keep going.
But I think that's with the losers and suckers. They put another speech of what he said, which I do remember saying losers and suckers. It wasn't in reference to the Normandy D-Day.
People that died at Normandy.
Yeah,
right.
at D-Day. And for him to go Paris, he doesn't even fucking, like, it's not, like, you can't even get that part straight. But here we go, because he gets into his son and all this other shit.
One of those graves. It's one of the graves back here, not there. And the idea that they're losers and suckers.
And McCain's a loser. He said McCain's a loser.
Well, McCain's a loser.
Can you imagine?
When John McCain got out of prison and was released, he came work for me. He was on the Senate liaison officer. We traveled over 100,000 miles together. And he was like an assistant because he worked for he was.
It's a fabulous man. I got to meet him before he died.
No, he was a straight up guy, man. And
Yeah.
tough as hell. And, but I find I can't fathom a president of the United States of America saying that the folks who died defending this country
Oh my
are
God.
suckers and losers.
But I can't fathom.
This part.
Get him. I can't fathom a guy walks into the voting booth, especially a military member or somebody, and would vote for someone who says military guys who die are losers and suckers. In other words, I'm not disappointed in him. I'm disappointed in my fellow Americans. And maybe you can't say that because, the thing I do like.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
But that's what I mean. Like, so you have.
He's got to know that that's all bullshit. And he's
Who,
just
Stern?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just spewing a fucking
Dude, how many
flat
times
out
did
lie.
he have Trump on his show? Dozens.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both from New York. They both were fucking, like, come on. It's like Oprah Winfrey and Trump was on her show all the time. Like, come on, what are you talking about? Everybody loved Trump until
He went Republican.
he went Republican. And maybe, listen, I know, we talked about it. I know he's a Democrat, and everybody's like, well, he was a certain type at a certain time. That's not those people now. That's not those people for the last 5 years. Ever since Barack came in, those aren't the same Democrats.
Yeah.
You might have people that are still those Democrats, but that's not what this party is now.
No.
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 I mean, you see it with the squad. You see it with all this fucking leftist crazy shit. Come on. It's not even close to
It's not your dad's Democrat Party.
Yeah, if it's not your father's Republican Party, it's definitely not your dad's. So yeah, they're gonna perpetuate. It's the same thing, like we said. They're gonna perpetuate these lies and keep Stern's hoping that he's got that big base still, where the American veteran or whoever was in the military is going, you know what? I didn't know that Trump said that.
Right.
And I didn't know that he felt that way. It does make me feel angry towards him.
Right.
Because maybe they didn't.
That's their goal.
No, I know. Yeah. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe that guy who does like Trump, but he's like, I know he supports the military, but I didn't know that does anger me. Because they don't know any better, because they don't know the other side of it.
Right.
And other than shows like ours and people like this, they're not going to tell you that side. Or you're not going to hear it because they don't want you to know that side.
Right.
So it's little nuggets, kind of like what we said with, deleting the small peoples. It's death by a thousand cuts, where they're going to, we'll implant this thought in the people's heads. We'll implant this one. So now the American veteran and military people, why would they vote for Trump? He called them suckers and losers. Can I look that up and find that? Maybe. Maybe not.
It's going to be hard to find.
This one is him about the January 6th thing.
Oh, this ought to be a doozy.
And about how he's going to pardon them all, and this isn't his father, whatever. Father's Republican Party.
11,000 votes so that
I can
win the election. I would just.
He starts with the Raffensperger call. Right. So obviously this is clip, because they're trying to, like I said, this is on Joe's Twitter account. So they're trying to clip it so people that are following this are going to hear what they want you to hear. They're going to clip out all the good, whatever is questionable, but just what we want you to put. So this is about the Raffensperger call to Georgia, which we all know how that really was, not the way they're going to frame it here.
That over and over again. And then I'd say to the audience, what are we debating? A man picked up the phone and wanted to say, fake the election, give me 11,000 votes. I don't know how any American who loves this country, that's the end of the debate. You don't get to run if you're going to fix an election.
Well, look, I think I said.
How about all the ballot box stuff that went on? How about all the illegal ballots that went on?
Well, do you see? Yeah, do you see what they're doing? How any American? So they're trying to they're framing it like, you can't be a patriot, you can't have American, and then it's not what the call was about. The call was, because they have it recorded. He said, I'm only down by 11,000 votes. There has to be a way with what you're saying, which the guy just came out, that there's over 200,000 rescans of ballots that came out last week. So you're having this call at the end of last week, at the beginning of the week, Georgia, because there's a whole court thing going on.
Right.
Where they found over 200,000 rescans, not just 200,000 new ballots, 200,000 rescans, which is what we saw Ruby Freeman and her daughter and that whole crew in that fucking convention center, wherever it was, rescanning ballots.
Yep.
Has nothing. We're not even talking about the mail-in stuff.
Right.
Which those probably were.
And they got medals of honor too, right?
Medals of freedom. The President's Freedom Medal. We're not talking about the mail-ins, which those probably were, but you have the rescanning of the same ballots, which that's been proven as a fact just last week or the week before. So we'll continue this going, because, again, why would you call yourself a patriot if you're voting for this guy?
Right. January 6th, when they were storming the Capitol.
And a police officer died.
Yeah. And
Jesus Christ, is he a fucking weak?
Say nothing. He was sitting in that office.
And the police officer died.
That dining area off the Oval Office for 3 hours and said nothing. I was supposed to make a speech on the economy that day. Instead, I made a speech I was in Delaware on that issue, because I was elected president, but I wasn't sworn in yet. The idea that we were actually not, it was derelict. It was almost criminal. He did nothing. He just sat there and watched what was happening. Not a single. And now he wants to he calls them patriots and victims, and says he's going to pardon them all if he's reelected.
How do some of the guys that you served in the Senate with, I'm talking about Republicans,
They don't.
How do they not? How are they going along with this?
Well, I don't think. Look, this is not your father's Republican Party.
No, it is.
No, it isn't. A police officer died. What about Ashley Babbitt?
A police
What?
officer didn't die that day,
No.
and he was proven that he had a stroke.
Yeah, from the fucking vaccine, probably.
Probably because he was a D.C. Capitol police officer. So,
The only person that was murdered was Ashley Babbitt.
well, there was also a couple other people trampled that. I mean, a couple of people did die that day, but it was other circumstances. It wasn't because of the insurrectionist, and none of the people that have been charged have been, or that are currently in the jail right now, have been charged with insurrection. It's all like fucking trespassing or misdemeanor fucking whatevers, and they're not even getting their due process. But you have Alvin Bragg and all these other people just going, yeah, you could go ahead, you're allowed out, you're allowed out. You killed somebody, you're just out here punching people in the face, assault, you're good. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny because, when a police officer dies, I don't hear Howard Stern fucking screaming from the rooftops.
Yeah, did he say anything about the New York cop that just got killed that fucking Trump was at the person's
Right.
family of the funeral of, that he paid, where it has it that he paid off the mortgage of the house? Like, I don't know, like that was after the fact, but that, and then they turned away Alvin after Trump went. They were like, oh shit, Alvin Bragg, the fucking Hochul, and the mayor. They were like, the family, well, it wasn't even the family, it was just other officers and family, people close to the family told him to get the fuck out of here. This is all your fault.
Right.
Don't come showing up here now. Oh, Trump's there. Everybody made a big deal. He made a speech. He was like, it's this beautiful family lost their father. This is a shame. These guys are like,
They wanted to get in on it.
yeah, like, oh, well, we got to show our face. And Joe was there. He didn't say shit. He didn't take a knee for that, for the officer. Listen, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, we know the tide's turning, but it's just, and again, like Trump, I mean, Stern probably didn't know because he didn't come out of his house until fucking 2022. So he probably didn't know that there really wasn't an officer that died.
He just takes information and runs with it
Well,
without even verifying anything. That's what bothers me. These guys
he's taking what he's given.
taking what they're given. Because I'm working for a living. Dirty bastards, man. Lower than low. Swamp creatures.
Pretty much. It's frustrating because, and again, I don't know what kind of audience Stern has anymore. I mean, I don't know who's, I don't know who's really listening to it, especially now. I mean, it can't be good. Like, it's like Rage Against the Machine all those years, anti-government, anti-establishment. Now they're like, go get your shot. Go get your booster.
Yeah.
Come do what you tell me. Weren't you the other guys? Don't tell, I won't do what you tell me. Now you're telling everybody go do what they tell you? It's crazy, man. Like, it's definitely an upside down world. And it's not even, it shouldn't even be right, left, where's just common sense anymore?
Yeah, it should be right and wrong.
Well, just common sense. Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't agree with what he's saying here. And I've heard otherwise. I'm not going to listen, I'm not going to Stern for my news and my political views.
But he should be. I mean, the only reason why Biden's on Stern in the first place is because he's not going to get a question.
Well, he has a platform, and he's
Yeah.
going to roll. Obviously, he's just
not gonna
clearly, because I remember, like, Stern would have been hard hitting back in the day. Like, yo, wait, hold on.
Right.
What about this? What about the open border?
Right.
What about why are we sending so much money to Ukraine? Why are you allowing all this protest against
Jews.
Israel?
Yeah.
Israel.
And he happens to be Jewish.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, half Jewish.
He would question that.
Right.
I think that's another reason why Rappaport's like, dude, you have all this going on in New York, beating up cops and stuff, like, and we're doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense. All right.
Hit the links. Official Patriot gear, 10% off. Reaper Apparel Company, 15% off. Raycon 1, 20% off. My Patriot Cigar, 50% off. All the links are in the bio, description box below. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
buddy.